What is Angrylands about? Angrylands is a TV show that I've been wanting to do for years. So, just like imagine there's a small town off of the west coast of Ireland, and there's 5 kids who stumble upon, or stumbled upon by an alien who offers them like this chance to adventure the universe, because he is like a hapless sort of admin character who is part of a team of 3 other aliens who are tasked with like this really mega important mission that's ultra secret, that is way above their pay grade. And the kids take this offer and they go on intergalactic adventures trying to find these like talismans, which would then all together, once they have everything, would provide the right materials to sort of rebuild the portals in between the many universes. And the whole story is sort of like a mix between Adventure Time and Doctor Who. Season 1 would have been like the talismans would have been heavily based off of Irish mythology, and the conceit was quite, even though it was sort of like the fate of the universe, it would have been quite like a small, the sort of seriousness of the stakes was still pretty low because you didn't know any of the characters yet, you didn't know much about the inter galactic world government, and you didn't know much about the relationships between the kids, and you didn't know much about the history of the town. So it's another weird little town kind of story as well. Season 2 would have then been after the 3 sort of admin aliens and then the like ragtag kids and other aliens team all were able to find the right talismans and be able to save the sort of ability to transport between galaxies. After that, the next step is sort of realizing the human kids, sort of unraveling the sort of nature of this whole alien world they now encountered, and then some of the deep dark secrets. And the next season would have been about, I think, finding some more things or facing off other like a bigger enemy. And except this time the enemy, instead of being individual sort of characters, would have been fascism. So it would have become quite like a political season. And Angrylands, like as a show, to me, it has always been something that I've wanted to make for years and years, but I don't think I'll be able to make it. And I'm pretty sure I've lost all my original notes, so I had my notes for season 1 all like written into these 2 notebooks, and I think I've lost them, and now I'm not going to be in a situation where I'll be able to make the show. And yeah, I think it's the kind of show that I wish I had around to watch. Like the main characters would have been a mix of like characters who were like, I don't think any one of them is fully white. Nearly all of them are disabled, and I think most of them are queer. And then it's another weird small town kids show with like, you know, there's bigger secrets to uncover, and then these adults like are not really who they seem, and then your friends are not really who they seem, and then your relationship with your friends change. Yeah, it's something I really would have liked to have like made a pitch bible for it. So a town called Wolf. This one I had the idea when I was like on the bus, and I just had a moment where I was like, I wish there was somewhere for someone like me to go, and then I just had this idea. This girl called you know what? No idea what her name is. She gets sick, I think a few years into the pandemic, and then tries to go back to work, realizes that she's sick for the long term, has to quit her job, and begins shielding because she doesn't want to get sick again. And then she's just like, fuck, well, you know, what's my life? I've lost my job. My friends don't understand what it's like to be, you know, newly disabled. And then she hears about this job, like a remote job, from this company called no idea what it's called, Sublime, and it's a porn company. So she interviews for the job, gets the job, and just starts working remotely, and you know, makes a lot of friends with the people who are also at the company. And turns out the company has a headquarters in somewhere in the middle of the UK, where there's like a really nice Lake District. So that's where it's set, like in the country area near the Lake District, where the headquarters is based on this like little housing co-op that was started years and years ago by a collective of queer disabled artists who wanted to run away, move to the countryside, and do their own thing, where then they started this porn company afterwards, which is where this whole company is, the whole sort of shtick is that it's a really good company because you can either work remotely or come work on the, I guess it's what they call a campus, like company campus, or the site. So the main character actually becomes best friends with someone called Miffy, who's just wonderful, who one of the people in their housing co-op is actually leaving, so there's a space, and invites the main character to go live with them. And then they run off to the countryside, and they join this like porn company, like weird little secluded town made up of a bunch of disabled queer housing co-ops, and they're all acting in lines as if the pandemic is ongoing, and they're all trying to protect each other and themselves, and it's like they, you know, it's a place where like, wow, these are people that really get it, I guess. So she moves there, starts working there, has a grand time, meets a dominatrix and becomes her assistant, and then meets various other people, maybe meets a girl to fall in love with, but just she starts working there sort of beginning of summer, and the majority of the book is just this summer of like adventure and friendship and discovering for the first time who you are, and about queerness and disability. So a town called Wolf, that's that one. Even this could happen. So this is the one that I have literally written probably, I have written like a full novelette length sort of draft of this one, and the thing is, even though I wrote so much, that wasn't even like a 1/7 way through the story, so the plot is kind of, compared to other ones, kind of huge. So even this could happen, even what could happen. So this one's about the apocalypse, where one day, suddenly, it's a very weird one, so all the adults just die. It's like very based off of a lot of other YA fiction I read, where all of the adults suddenly just die, and it's like the kids are all just suddenly, it's set in the city of Bristol, and over the course of a day, it's like, it seems like all the adults have dropped dead, and the kids are scrambling to find their parents, are going home to see if their parents are maybe have gone home to meet them, their siblings, their friends, and then what ends up happening is that the kids all just end up finding each other, like kids from the same school stay together, neighborhood kids, whatever, and then they just kind of wait for a bit. This is before the plot even begins. This is like the pre, the plot, before anything even happens. So they would just kind of wait, like, and because they're like, okay, well, obviously something's happened, all the adults have died, so we just wait for someone to rescue us. No one comes to rescue them. Over the course of a few weeks, though, rain starts happening, and it seems like the extent of the death must have extended to beyond Bristol, maybe the whole of England, maybe the whole world, who knows, where, there's no one manning the sort of sewage plants here in Bristol, and it means that after there being some rain, there's bodies in the streets, there is debris from kind of like riot situations, basically, and then there is poo everywhere because the sewage system is entirely overflown. There's just poo everywhere. So within the city of Bristol, all the streets kind of are filled with this river of shit. So the kids, a few weeks into the apocalypse, not only are all the adults dead, now they're all sort of restricted to the buildings, because outside, or at least the main characters who are in the inner city, they literally cannot leave the buildings because of the river of shit, and which also is filled with dead bodies and just other stuff. So that's what happens, sort of, that's where we are when we begin the story. We begin the story with the Hanson kids, and these are kids who know each other from school. They are just we start the story about 7 months or so into the apocalypse, so they're like a ragtag bunch of kids. Not all of them have survived. They've already gone through a lot. What ends up catapulting the plot is that this kid shows up, Iseult. That's not the name he gives though. He's like a weird kid who's like, my name's Mr. 5, and he's mysterious, so he doesn't give his name until like ages later. He says, I know that your sort of encampment is terrified of winter. I've been watching you guys, and I'm just someone who happens to know a person in another encampment across the city who is my cousin. And if you help me find my cousin, they can give you a bunch of stuff that will mean that you'll be safe for the winter. And so the kids at the Hanson kids sort of encampment are like, should we trust this guy? He's just some random fucker who's popped up and is kind of mysterious, and they end up trusting him. So they go on this adventure to cross the city of Bristol by jumping across buildings, or in some cases where they can't figure out a way to go across buildings, they physically wade through the shit, or even jump. They try and figure it out. So they go on this adventure across the city, and that's most of the book. One of the kids dies straight up, like not even like a day or so since they begin the journey, and because the journey walking probably would have taken them like half an hour's walk across the city, but because they have to figure out a way to go from building to building, it's going to take them a really long time, like more than the main journey takes over a month. They meet other kids, other encampments, they meet enemies, like there are a bunch of working class kids, and they end up meeting a bunch of kids who are snobby, private school kids, basically. They eventually find this other encampment who are based at the library, and they're like a bunch of nerds, and then that's near the end of the story where it's like, oh my gosh, maybe we'll be okay because there's like these really smart kids who seem to know exactly what they're doing, and then so Mr. 5 reunites with his cousin. There's so many characters, so I love most of my stories and my ideas. The main sort of intrigue and the main thing I enjoy developing is the relationship between the characters, and I don't know if I'm not going to be able to get into it, but at the end of the book, a lot of characters have self-actualized, a lot of new relationships, some breakups, and then they head back, make the same journey. Except this time, they have, like, because the nerds are so smart, they figured out a way to make pulleys, like, across, I don't know what you call them, but, like, so they've created this, like, mode of transportation across the buildings. So then you get the epilogue, where it's, like, a few months after, they survive winter, but then, there's a scene where there's a play happening, and the kids are just watching it, and the leader is called away, and is told to go to the, like, encampment of nerds, because, there's a helicopter that's landed on the top of the building, and there's 2 adults that's come out. What? In, like, hazmat suits. So then these 2 adults ask to bring some kids with them, and then some kids leave in the helicopter. That's the end of book 1. So, book 2 of Even This Could Happen, the first thing that happens is that the helicopter that they're going in gets shot down from the sky. So, someone just fully shoots them down from the sky. And then what happens is, the kids survive. So there's like a few kids that come into this huge helicopter, and they're all wondering, like, what the actual fuck? They're all still, like, so confused. And then now, they've literally been shot down from the sky. They see a man coming from the corner who comes and kills the surviving adult. So 2 adults, one of them survives, one of them doesn't, gets fucking either shot or, like, gets his head bashed in. So this guy is, like, the leader of a cult, and he forces the kids to join the cult, and then that's where they're at for a while. The kids are sort of, like, really scared, they're horrified, but, it's like the whole world is making even less sense because they thought that the virus had killed all the adults. And so during the course of this book, you find out about all the theories. There's 7 separate theories as to how this virus happened. And then also, at the same time, you have this adventure across the country where some of the adults try and find the spouse of one of the new main characters. And then over the course of the book, it's about relationships mostly again.